I know one major decision that will be a very difficult one for this government is this minimum wage. What figure do you think would be best for the Nigerian worker as the minimum wage in Nigeria of today?
You have to adjust for inflation. But if we're doing 3,000, that sounds no longer reasonable. We have to know what should be the quality of life for the first person in the cadre of the civil service. At that level, what should be the quality of life? In my own back of the envelope, I would say, don't do less than 150,000 naira.
As a minimum wage.
As a minimum wage. Don't do less than it, because I don't think in Nigeria of today, for some decent, dignified living, I believe that you need at least that. Because also the minimum we will set a bit of benchmark for the private sector. Look at the bag of rice. Look at how much food inflation has happened in recent time, commodity inflation. So whatever the federal government is doing now with the wage, whatever we call the wage award system, I think NLC should be bolder, because it looks like the government has appropriated all the benefits of this whole, in quotes, of subsidy to themselves. They have new cars. Nothing has stopped in the lifestyle of people in government. Nothing has stopped. The Nigerian worker that is still battling. Someone is earning 400,000. You say the person is not earning 35,000 because you give him 35. How does that make sense? And you have been doing that for months. How does that make sense?
So the luxury lifestyle of people in government and political office is still glowing.
It's not stopped.
But the workers are getting leaner by the day.
Have not stopped. So the government needs to step up and say, this is what minimum. Because I see the LPC quoting 15,000. That's been outrageous. But they have to do the mathematics and say what is decent to start with. And I think for years, even that minimum wage was due for review. For years, we're not proud to. But now, I think it should get somewhere around 150,000.
You have touched on a very critical point in running government, which is cutting cost of governance. Practically speaking, because we've mouthed this for far too long. Practically speaking, what in your own definition that people can see tangibly will make significant difference in cutting cost of governance?
It's hard. And there's cutting cost of governance by perception. There's the reality component of it. I'm saying this because the people have to have a feeling that you bear their pain, as much as possible. For example, you go and buy a 150 million naira Jeep. I don't know if that's the exact amount for lawmakers. Why do you buy 150 million? Does Nigeria look like a country where its lawmakers should drive a 150 million naira Jeep? Because a 150 million naira Jeep, there is no way, that I believe that a member of parliament in the UK gets a car of that value. There is no way. If is a Chinese equivalent of this Chang'an that's saying 30 million, that is what you should buy them. But let them also understand, even if you have to buy a new car, let them understand that this is not, you are not trying to benchmark yourself with a US lawmaker or a UK lawmaker. You don't have a US-UK economy. But what we have is political class living, luxuriously in terms of it looks like we have to live like a benchmark of like a global, like we are lawmakers everywhere. No, lawmakers of Nigeria. The people are poor. You must reflect the people. You must reflect your lifestyle. You must reflect what is on the ground. So I feel that's where the lifestyle of politicians is where the cost of the cutting the cost has to start.
Does this Tinubu government, have they shown that to you?
I don't think, look at the ministers. You say count the ministers and count the number of aides that has been appointed. And all of them have impressed accounts. They have expenses to be on behalf of the government. Count the number of communication aides. Let's even start. Because prior to appointing all those aides, the Aso Rock itself has a director of press. So it's not as if there was a vacuum even before those aides were appointed. The civil service has a lot of structure for some of those things. But because of we have to dole out political patronage, just keep doing more and more of those things. And you have to look at the size of the cabinet, because for every person you put in that place comes and there's one guy who is the special advisor to the president in the north. You look to see at the convoy the person was carrying. And you find some ministers moving as if, moving like the president. They have bike riders. They have, for what? They have a machine gun next to them, a minister. We've seen them. And so, is that what it should be? Let's be honest with ourselves. Is the lifestyle of the politicians that has to first change the perception. Maybe all of that, when you look at a budget of 27 trillion, you say, oh, that money is small. People must they must see that you are bearing in the pain that they are facing right now.